Christian, what are some of the pitfalls of using trusts as a tool for family wealth planning?
When people think about succession planning, the people from the wealth management industry often equate succession planning with setting up some kind of trust structure. So you do have to look at the question of trusts, and trusts are a common tool. And the way I think about trusts is that trusts have certain advantages. So one of the problems with Asian family firms over 3 generations is the problem of ownership fragmentation. So one of the advantages of putting a family business, for example, into a trust structure is that it tends to keep the ownership consolidated. But there are also disadvantages of family trust structures. So most families and most family wealth will fail as a result of family conflict. And putting your family business into a family trust will not help to avoid the family conflict. So I think the danger with the trust structuring solution, the trust structuring tool, is that it's too easy, it's too simple. You know, the wealth managers will happily go along and help their client to set up a trust structure, and when the structuring is done, everybody thinks that all their problems have solved. But in fact, sadly, that's not the case. So the downside with the trust structuring solution is this false sense of security, this false sense that you've actually fixed the family succession problems.
So in what ways should families view trusts in terms of helping them?
The idea is, how can we use a trust as an effective succession planning tool for the family? And I think the first rule is that you need to be very transparent with the family about setting up trusts. The traditional approach to setting up trusts in Asia is that you get somebody, whether it's a banker or a lawyer, and they come in and they're playing the role of the trust expert. And the only person they're talking to is they're talking to the patriarch or the business founder. And they're getting his ideas on how he thinks the succession will play out, on how the ownership should be structured in the future. And but there's never any testing or reality testing with the family whether this structure that has been designed solely by the patriarch is actually going to be acceptable, or what's the family reaction going to be to this trust structure. So I think it's vitally important to have family meetings where the family get to sit down with maybe it's the wealth managers, and it might include the lawyer and the business founder, and they talk about what is the trust structure going to be in the future. Who's going to be the protector? Who are going to be the beneficiaries? And is this all actually going to work in practice?
Christian, what other lessons can be learned in terms of the use of trusts for family wealth?
You look at those examples of Asian family firms that have lasted for 100 years, and the one characteristic is usually that there's some consolidation of the share ownership. Okay, you then switch back to a trust structure. Many of the trusts which are set up in Asia are discretionary trusts. That means that legally nobody has any ownership interest in the income or capital of the trust. It means, how do you exit from a discretionary trust? How do you consolidate, concentrate the ownership so that you only have those beneficiaries who are interested in the business as beneficiaries under the trust, and you let family members who actually are not interested in a management role in the business, let them exit from the trust. So I think for me the second important lesson is, if you're going to have a trust structure, you still have to have some kind of exit plan to support the trust structure. Exit plan is actually what will help support the continuity of the business over the longer term. I guess the final lesson is that if you have a third generation family, how many people are you talking about? A third generation family could be anywhere between 20 to 30 different people. And without a trust, one of the issues is, how do those 20 to 30 people make decisions together? Okay, but if you then put the family business into a trust, maybe the trust is the sole shareholder in the family business, but you still have 20 to 30 beneficiaries, and you're still missing, what's the mechanism for this 20 to 30 beneficiaries now to make decisions together jointly? So you can have your trust structure, but the lesson is that you still need some kind of governance structure for all those beneficiaries to work together.
And what about the idea of trusts as a relationship?
This is quite a new idea in Asia. We haven't seen Asian families execute on this idea. Is this idea coming from this author called Jay Hughes, who wrote this very popular book called Family Wealth. And his idea is very simple. It's that a trust is a relationship. And this relationship is usually one which is designed and set up by the founder or the settlor of the trust. And then the beneficiaries are introduced into this sort of arranged marriage, and they don't know how the relationship is supposed to work. They don't know what it means to be a beneficiary. They don't know what the role of the trustee is. Maybe they don't understand the full trust structure. So the idea is that if you want to have a positive trust structure, a positive trustee-beneficiary relationship over generations, it's very important that you have education on this trustee-beneficiary arrangement.